how is wealth really created? I mean, is it something you build inside your own mind? Or is it basically just a result of the world you happen to be born into? Today, we're going to dig into two really powerful and kind of competing theories that try to answer that exact question. So let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the heart of it all. Can you actually think your way into being rich? Is financial success just a state of mind that, anyone could adopt if they tried hard enough? And this idea, which is captured perfectly here by the entrepreneur Jim Rohn, is really the foundation of our first theory. It suggests the whole game of wealth is won or lost not in your bank account, but right between your ears. It's all about psychology. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack this whole mindset of wealth theory. Then we'll do a complete 180 and look at a different perspective, one that's all about society, stigma, and the systems around us. And finally, we'll put these two lenses side by side to see how they totally change the way we see reality. Okay, let's start with that first framework, the one that argues that wealth really just begins with one powerful belief system, a belief system that can create two completely different worlds. So you've got this author, Steve Siebold, and he spent decades, we're talking over 25 years, just talking to some of the wealthiest people on the planet. And his big takeaway after all that time was this: the fundamental difference between them and pretty much everyone else wasn't their money or their education or who they knew. Nope, it was how they think. It was all about their beliefs. And Siebold breaks this down into a bunch of really fascinating direct comparisons between what he calls the middle-class mentality and the world-class mentality. Let's take a look at a few. Okay, first up, think about it like this. Are you playing financial offense or financial defense? See, one way of thinking is all about saving and being frugal, which is basically playing not to lose. But the other way of thinking, it's all about earning. It's about creating new ways to make money and playing to win. Now, this next point, this one hits on a huge emotional difference. For a lot of people, money is a source of fear, of scarcity, this feeling that you can just never have enough of it. But another way of thinking sees money through a lens of abundance. It's a tool, a tool for freedom, for opportunity, for making an impact. This one's a biggie. It's a shift from just trading your time for money. See, one approach is pretty straightforward. You work more hours, you get more pay. But the world-class view? It completely disconnects the two. It sees wealth as coming from thought, from leverage, from creating ideas that solve big problems for a profit, totally independent of how many hours you clock in. And finally, there's the difference between just waiting for something to happen and actually doing something. The lottery mentality is all about hope, right? Hoping that some outside force, a jackpot, an inheritance, whatever, is going to make you rich. It's totally passive. The action mentality, though, is about taking charge, about actively building wealth through deliberate, focused effort. It's proactive. Okay, so that is a really compelling case for individual psychology, isn't it? But let's just pause here for a second and shift gears. Is mindset really the only thing that matters? I mean, that's the obvious question, right? If just changing your thoughts is all it takes, then why are there so many people who work incredibly hard and dream big but still struggle to get by? And that question, well, that's what opens the door to our second theory, which says there are much bigger external forces at play here. Now, to really wrap our heads around this second view, we've got to understand a key concept: discourse. And this isn't just about the words we use, it's the whole system, the way we talk, the things we do, the beliefs we hold that society basically labels as normal. And here's the kicker: those norms are shaped by people in power. So what this perspective argues is that the stories we're told over and over, especially by the media, aren't neutral. They often push a narrative that frames being poor as some kind of personal, moral failing, while completely ignoring all the systemic reasons that create poverty in the first place. And just like that, the focus shifts from what's inside your head to the actual structure of the world around you. So let's dig into that a little more and look at how media portrayals can build up these really harmful stereotypes through a process that's known as stigmatization. So what is stigma exactly? Well, the sociologist Irving Goffman defined it as some attribute that is deeply discrediting. The key thing here is that it's not just a personal feeling, it's a social thing, where one group gets marked as different, and because of that, less worthy. And researchers Link and Phelan actually broke down how this happens into 5 key steps. It's almost like a recipe. First, you label a difference.
Then you attach negative stereotypes to that label. That creates a separation, a clear us versus them. From there, you get status loss and discrimination. And the final, crucial ingredient, all of this requires power to actually put it into action and enforce it.
This quote just nails the result of that whole process. The story we hear so often is one of blaming the victim. It's a simple story, but it's incredibly powerful. The rich earned their success through hard work, and the poor, well, they deserve their failure. And that whole personal failure narrative ends up completely ignoring a ton of other massive factors. Things like inherited wealth or just pure dumb luck. What about your social connections, who you know? Or the massive advantage of being born in a highly developed country? Even things like how physically attractive you are by certain standards. This systematic view says these aren't just little details, they're huge forces that can shape your entire life. So, where does this leave us? We've basically got two totally different ways of explaining the exact same reality. Let's put them right next to each other and see how they stack up. Okay, on one side, you have the mindset lens. The focus here is all on the individual. It says wealth is a choice, and success comes directly from your psychology and your actions. But on the other side, you've got the systemic lens. This one focuses on the environment. It argues that wealth is shaped by systems, and that success often comes from things like privilege and existing power structures. So to boil it all down, it's really this. One perspective tells you that the power to succeed is 100% in your hands. But the other one suggests that for a whole lot of people, the game of wealth is fundamentally tilted against them before they even get a chance to play. So at the end of the day, the question probably isn't about which one of these theories is absolutely right. The real question is for you. Which lens, the individual one or the systemic one, shapes your world? And maybe more importantly, how does your answer change the way we all decide to move forward?